Okay, tonight is Genesis chapter 23.
And Sarah was 107 and 20 years old. These were the years of the life of Sarah. And Sarah died in Kirjath Arba. The same is Hebron in the land of Canaan. And Abraham came to mourn for Sarah and to weep for her.
So as the chapter begins, it's mentioning about Sarah, the wife of Abraham, is now 127 years old, right? Which means it's been about 37 years since she gave birth to Isaac. And so now she's reached the end of her life. So it says that she dies in this particular place, right? And of course, Abraham, having been her husband for many, many years, right, says came to mourn her. And so of course, it's a sad time. Obviously, they lived to a little bit longer age than we live today. I mean, today, if somebody lived to be 127, you say, well, gee, they lived to way more than what anybody else would, but that was maybe more of an average kind of life then. So she lived to 127, and so now she's passed away. Now it's a time of mourning, as Abraham's going to miss his wife of many years, and of course Isaac is seeing his mother and so forth.
And Abraham stood up from before his dead, and spake unto the sons of Heth, saying, I am a stranger and a sojourner with you. Give me a possession of a burying place with you, that I may bury my dead out of my sight. And the children of Heth answered Abraham, saying unto him, Hear us, my lord. Thou art a mighty prince among us. In the choice of our sepulchres bury thy dead. None of us shall withhold from thee his sepulchre, but that thou mayest bury thy dead.
If you remember, Abraham is not living in the place where he grew up, that he had traveled to a distance, and this was really more the land that God said that he would inherit at some point, he and his descendants. But this is not really his homeland, so it's not like he owns any property so he's had a death in the family. We need a place to bury her, right? See, a lot of families had places already picked out, reserved, and so forth, whether it be caves or whatever. So that he has nothing for that. So now that she's died, now he needs a place to bury her. So you see, it says he's talking to the sons of Heth, which are people in the area where he would have lived, and they said, hey, I don't have a place to bury my wife. So the people were gracious, right? They said, hey, pick any place you want. To say, in 6 it says you're a mighty prince among us. So we respect you and your family. So we'd be honored to have you bury your wife anywhere you want. None of us shall withhold from thee his sepulchre, but thou mayest bury thy dead. All right, so ask anybody, right? Any cave, anything that's available, we'd be happy to have you use that to bury your wife. Okay, so having lived a life where others got to know them and respect them, so now when this time came, they were willing to help out in providing a place to bury his wife.
And Abraham stood up and bowed himself to the people of the land, even to the children of Heth. And he communed with them, saying, If it be your mind that I should bury my dead out of my sight, hear me and entreat for me to Ephron the son of Zohar, that he may give me the cave of Machpelah, which he hath, which is in the end of his field. For as much money as it is worth he shall give it me for a possession of a burying place amongst you.
The search for a burying place goes on, all right? And now it says that he's going to speak to somebody else now, right? It says to Ephron, the son of Zohar, about a place to bury her. And now the part that that I looked at here in verse 8, it says, "If it be your mind that I should bury my dead out of my sight," says, I'm almost wondering whether that would mean, as opposed to on a nearby property, right, or maybe a little distance away, where it would take maybe a bit of effort to go visit the gravesite, as opposed to maybe being reminded by it all the time. So that's the only thing I can figure here as to why he's saying maybe it'd be better to pick a place out of my sight. So he's raising another option here with them, right? So he said maybe they'll give me this cave of Machpelah, right, which is way at the end of the field, and so I wonder how much he would want for that, as opposed to the sons of Heth just giving him something. Maybe I'll just go buy it off this other guy, and then it's maybe in a better location of where I would want it to be, instead of being reminded by it all the time.
And Ephron dwelt among the children of Heth, and Ephron the Hittite answered Abraham in the audience of the children of Heth, even of all that went in at the gate of his city, saying, Nay, my lord, hear me. The field give I thee, and the cave that is therein I give it thee. In the presence of the sons of my people give I it thee, bury thy dead. And Abraham bowed down himself before the people of the land, and he spake unto Ephron in the audience of the people of the land, saying, But if thou wilt give it, I pray thee, hear me. I will give thee money for the field. Take it of me, and I will bury my dead there.
All right, so here's this conversation with Ephron here, right? That, and it says it was in front of the children of Heth. That he's saying, gee, I'd sure like to have a place, that you have, one of your caves or something. And as you can see, he offered that right up. He said, that's no problem. All right, in 11, it says, I'll give you the field, I'll give you the cave, whatever you need, right, to bury your wife. Right, and he's going to give it to him, he wants to give it to him, but Abraham says, no, I don't want you to give it to me, I want to buy it from you. The Hittites, of course, were the ungodly people in general, right, so perhaps just to not be beholden to them, all right, to say that, well, that any time in the future, maybe he would put up, we gave you that cave, for your wife to be buried in. And so, again, it's this way, he's not obligated to him for anything, and he's going to purchase it, it's going to be his cave, his land, and so forth. So that's the only thing I can figure is that's, he just didn't want to be obligated to them. So that's why he was insisting, let's just make this a purchase, all right? Even though, really the land that they're living on is the land that God promised to him and his descendants anyway. So really, in essence, he's buying the land that God's going to give him eventually anyhow, but nonetheless, for this period of time, he said, let me buy it this way, I own it, and my wife can be buried here, and I don't have to worry about anybody saying anything about it.
And Ephron answered Abraham, saying unto him, My lord, hearken unto me. The land is worth 400 shekels of silver. What is that betwixt me and thee? Bury therefore thy dead. And Abraham hearkened unto Ephron, and Abraham weighed to Ephron the silver, which he had named in the audience of the sons of Heth, 400 shekels of silver, current money with the merchant.
So Abraham said that he would buy he would buy the land, and Ephron says, hey, listen to me now. So it's worth 400 shekels of silver, right? And so, but hey, what's that between you and me? I'm willing to trust you. I'm willing to give you the thing. You don't have to give that to me if it's not a problem. But Abraham said, no, I'm paying you, right? So in 16 it says he hearkened unto Ephron, he listened, and then went and counted out the money and gave it to him, right? So yeah, I hear what you have to say, but I'm paying you anyway, right? And so that's what he did. He went ahead and gave him the 400 shekels of silver. This way, it's all above board. It's my land, my cave, and my wife's buried there, and nobody can try to take it away from me, or I don't owe anybody any favors, and then this is it.
And the field of Ephron, which was in Machpelah, which was before Mamre, the field and the cave which was therein, and all the trees that were in the field, that were in all the borders round about, were made sure unto Abraham for a possession in the presence of the children of Heth, before all that went in at the gate of his city. And after this Abraham buried Sarah his wife in the cave of the field of Machpelah before Mamre, the same as Hebron in the land of Canaan. And the field and the cave that is therein were made sure unto Abraham for a possession of a burying place by the sons of Heth.
The transaction is completed. It says he owns this cave, this field, right? And it says he went ahead and buried his wife there. Okay, and if you notice in 20, it says the field and the cave were made sure unto Abraham by the sons of Heth. So in other words, they made it secure, all right? Whether they built something around it or whatever they did, they made it a secure place. Obviously, you wouldn't want to think somebody's going to come and try to steal anybody's body or anything. So they made it such that it was safe and it was secure, and so he had a nice burying place for his wife. Okay. Now you consider this chapter, right? That really this whole chapter was just about finding a burying place for Sarah, right? But you see the detail that's included here, right? I mean, first of all, of course, she was a main character here, and in the story now she's passed away, so it kind of marks the end of her life, and then it just shows how much Abraham cared for her, that he was willing to go to all this trouble to find a burying place for her, a suitable place, and he was eventually buried in the same place, by the way, so that he was picking out his own place as well, even though he has still a ways to go before he's ready for that, but he was picking out really his own place where it would be his resting place as well.